Hello, hello, everybody. How are you? It's Friday again. It's Soul Journey Fridays. How's everybody doing? I'm just going to invite my wonderful guest here. So I'm just going to take, here we go. Okay. Join. Hi, Nancy. There's GTA Reiki. So, all right. So we're just waiting for Kimeiko to come here online. Hi, Stephanie. Say hello to everybody today. Welcome. Okay, so I did send an invite. We'll see. We are just waiting on this. So while we're waiting, I just would like to introduce my guest. My guest today is Kimeiko Hotta Dover. She is a retired college professor, a Usui Holy Fire 3 Karuna Reiki Master teacher, and a psychotherapist. She teaches all levels of Reiki certification classes, including Grow Your Business Reiki. Grow a Reiki business, sorry. She is the co-founder of GTA Reiki and which is a collaborative and supportive community for Reiki teachers. So let's see if it works. Let's see if she's able to kind of log in. Let's see. Oh, is she here? Maybe she's logging back in. And we can invite again. See if that works. All right. So the first time, so this series came along because I did a live with Kimeiko to promote the GTA Reiki conference. So we did a live, my first live together with somebody else across the interwebs, and then I found it it took us 3 times to get there. So I found it so easy that I thought, hey, I could do this with other healers, get the word out, because we have lots of healers, different modalities. And there we go. Let's see if she. There we go. Let's invite her. Let's see if that works. There you go, Kimeiko. I just invited. There we go. Here we go. There we go. There we go. It hurt.
Sorry for the delay. My computer, yeah, it was asking me to download an app and all these unexpected things. So I'm on with the phone now.
No worries. It's funny because I was just telling them our first story of our first live together. We tried 3 times. The 3rd time worked perfectly. But yeah, that's how this series kind of came along. You were my inspiration in producing or presenting to my clients, my followers, just stories from other healers, right? From people who have done the work and are still doing the work and are helping other people. So I am very honored to have you here since you were the inspiration of this whole series. And so I'm glad that you could make it. I already gave a little introduction of who you are and where you're coming from, that you're a Usui Holy Fire 3 Karuna Reiki Master and a psychotherapist, and that's recently new, right?
Yeah, thank you very
much. And you also teach all levels of Reiki certifications, and you're also the co-founder of GTA Reiki, which is growing by the day, isn't it? Like it's getting bigger and bigger. I love it.
Very exciting.
So yeah, so I'm so fortunate to be part of that community. And every time there's a meeting or we have a Reiki share or invite somebody, I'm just so proud to show them this beautiful community that you and Alex have built. I always feel very welcomed and warm, and feels warm, and I love it. I love sharing it. I love being part of it. So thank you so much for creating that beautiful space. So much appreciated. Thank you for being here. I'm glad everything worked out really well. And is there anything you'd like to say before we kind of get going with the question?
Well, I'm just overwhelmed by your warmth and generosity, and I love that, it seemed like just a couple of months ago we did our first Instagram live, and then you got off and running with it. And I'm just in awe watching you. This is the 10th one now. And it feels like just 5 minutes ago that we did this for the first time. So
Right.
I just, so many beautiful feelings for you, Maria, and what a creator you are. And thank you for the very warm welcome. And yeah, just feeling very, very grateful at the moment.
Wonderful, wonderful. Once again, thank you so much for being here. So let's start with our first question. Let's get going here. The first question is, what would you like to share about your life journey so far that has led you to become a Reiki master and a psychotherapist?
Wow. So it's a little bit of a story.
Question. Get out there.
Yeah, so, I think one cannot be alive for 5 decades without experiencing personally and without witnessing a few life wallops, right? And yeah. And so about 10 years ago now, I experienced a real trauma, a personal trauma, and it just leveled me. And I was struggling to get out of bed. I was struggling to go to work. I still did it, but it was not easy, and I had never experienced pain like this before. And it really caused me to sort of question everything that I thought I knew. I felt like I was starting all over. I had never really, I never identified as an anxious person, but all of a sudden I became anxious. I became worried that something like this might happen again. And I was desperate to get out of pain. I was at a place where I would do anything to get out of the emotional pain that I was feeling. So I was very open to trying anything and everything. I did participate in, my employer had an employee assistance program. I didn't participate in counseling, but to be honest, it wasn't helping me very much at that time because I was so kind of shell-shocked that it was hard for me to even talk about what I was suffering from. And I was spending a lot of time outside in the garden, which is incredibly healing, planting things, digging in the earth. And while I was doing that, I was listening to podcast after podcast on healing. I was really looking for what is the answer, what is the way to heal? How can I feel whole again? How can I get through this? And one of the podcasts mentioned Reiki, and it mentioned, it talked about something that was very relatable to me. It talked about issues in the tissues, and how when we experience emotional pain, we can feel it in our body. And I had never really thought about that before, but it was true. I noticed that my throat felt very congested because I was not speaking. I wasn't speaking about what had happened. And my heart, it just felt broken. Like I felt like to get out of bed in the morning, I felt like I needed to put my hands over my heart and hold my heart together to stand up, or I would lose all the pieces, right? So when I heard this podcast and it was talking about issues in the tissues, it was really resonant for me. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, I am feeling this emotional pain as physical pain in my body. And sure, I'll try Reiki. I'll try this wacky thing.
Yeah.
And so I did. I booked my first Reiki session with a Toronto Reiki master, excellent Reiki master in Scarborough named Salima Parani. And I arrived on her doorstep kind of in a puddle, a really hot mess. And she guided me into a Reiki room. Her her whole demeanor, her presence, the Reiki room, everything was so inviting, warm, soothing. You know, my nervous system just started to relax. And then there was something so beautiful about lying.
I'm gonna wait. It's loading.
Her, this loving presence, these warm hands, calming, soothing hands, holding me. And that, you know, as you know, because you've experienced Reiki, you give Reiki, the power of, you know, calming, soothing touch when your nervous system is a mess. That was incredibly powerful. And then, but then there were other things that were incredibly powerful that kind of blew me away and really changed my life. So it really surprised me that she was able to really name what I wasn't even naming. Like when she had her hands on my head, she was able to notice like how busy my head was. You know, how all this activity was happening. When she had her hands on my heart, she kind of shocked me because I thought this broken heart was sadness or just pain. What she sensed was anger.
Wow.
And that really surprised me, Maria, because when she said it, there was a kind of I was startled and I was like, damn right I'm angry. You know, I've been done wrong. Right?
Yeah.
And until that moment, my story was kind of a victim story.
Yeah.
And when, as a victim, to be a victim is just to swirl around in a toilet bowl of guck. You know, it just feels really powerless and hopeless, and you just feel lost. But to have someone help you name anger is incredibly empowering. You know, that gave me the energy, the courage, the strength that I needed to get out of the toilet bowl and go, I'm taking my life back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I find sometimes that even just naming an emotion, it gives you the power to call its name and go, I see you. I'm not afraid of you. I can go beyond it, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And there is, in fact, research. Dan Segal is a psychologist who actually, he has this wonderful phrase. He says, name it to tame it. And that's something that we can do with children. It's something that I do as a therapist. Like if I'm working with a client and I can help them name an emotion, that's already soothing. They're already feeling. I experience it for myself, and I've seen it with other clients. When we can name our emotions, there's power in that. And here's the thing, Maria, one of the reasons that this was so powerful is that we learn to disavow our emotions. So I learned very young, as many of us do, that anger is not nice.
Right. It's a bad emotion. It makes everybody feel uncomfortable. So don't bring it up. It's supposed to just, you're not supposed to feel it, right? Yeah.
Right. And so I wanted to be a good girl. I wanted to be a loved girl. So I learned to be a girl and a woman without anger. But of course, I had anger, as we all do. Anger is a very natural emotion, and it's a helpful. I completely own my anger. I've reclaimed my anger, and I really value her as an ally because she tells me when I feel anger bubbling up, I realize, oh, there's an injustice here. My boundary is being crossed. Something's not fair, right? And that helps to give me voice. I don't cork that anymore. I proactively, calmly express it before it becomes a big volcanic explosion.
Right, right. You gave it a voice, right? And that's what I find too, that I tell my clients that sometimes, like you said, just naming the emotion gives it, you can see it, and then once you feel it, whatever you are angry about or you are feeling despondent about, just that goes away. That processes through your body and goes away. And now you're just telling a story instead of being emotionally involved in it or feeling hurt by it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You can really make sense of it. And, I love the movie Inside Out.
Yes.
With all of the emotions personified. I just love it. And, I do find myself kind of, relating to my emotions. And it's like, well, hello, anger. What are you doing here? Right? Or, hi, sadness. Like, what do you have to say?
Yeah.
What do you want to express? What do you want to work through?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's it. Our emotions are, I call them, there are emotional temperature, right? Like it tells us if something's happening beyond sometimes our mental capacity, but we're feeling it in our body, we're feeling it in our environment. And sometimes our emotions are warning signs or are signs of needing to heal something, right? Yeah.
Exactly. They're really, as I said, I really see them as allies. And the thing is that I was not connecting these sensations in my body with the emotion of anger. So for me, Reiki was transformative. That first Reiki session absolutely transformed my life because it started to help me bring these pieces together again. This is what I'm feeling in my body. This is what the emotion is called. And now I'm able to start becoming my authentic self because I know how I feel and I'm aligning with my body as an ally.
Yeah. And then you trust your feelings, right? If you're feeling anger, there's a reason why you're feeling anger. If you're feeling sadness or if you're feeling happy and joy, right? You can trust those feelings and no longer be in fear of them, right?
Absolutely. And one of my mentors said that, told me, and I love this idea, I'm always thinking about this, is that women's wisdom is embodied wisdom. So, there's this thing about women's intuition. Well, it makes more and more sense to me as I connect to my body and I connect to my emotions. I use my body now to make decisions. Right? So when I was making the very important decision of, do I continue with the career that I've had for 30 years, this teaching career that I've had for 30 years, and that pays me well and I enjoy doing and all of the things, or do I give that up? Give up that safety, that security? Do I retire from that and step into this Reiki practice, this psychotherapy practice, this wellness practice that is going to be self-employed, it's going to be uncertain, it's going to take time to build? Do I do that? And if I were to try to decide with my head would look, do a few calculations, do a few flowcharts, and go, you should keep teaching, right?
Yeah.
But when I sit back with my body and I say, body, what do you think? Or not what do you think, but body, how do you feel? And I tune into, I picture myself teaching for one more year and going through that whole cycle and another year and another year and another year and another year. Or I picture myself embarking on this new career, this new adventure in middle age, and I feel my body light up.
Wow.
Then that's how I know that that's going to be the right thing. And I have never regretted it for a second.
Yeah, because you delved quite deep. Like your studying took you a long time. It was quite an investment, not only like in your time, right, and learning to become a psychotherapist, right?
Yeah, that's been a 5-year journey,
Very
and I am graduating in at the end of June. I've submitted all my assignments. I'm actually receiving my diploma in a couple of weeks, and my last class is June 21st. So it's coming up. It's been a very, very rigorous program, and I'm grateful for it. I'm really grateful, and I am really grateful that I chose to do it over 5 years, because it's a very transformative program. All of the academic, intellectual things that we're learning, but also something I really love about my program is I'm training as a psychodynamic psychotherapist.
Ah,
And kind of that means a number of things, but one of the things that it means is that as a therapist, I am an instrument, and I need to use myself safely and effectively when I work with clients. And what that means, Maria, is that if you are sharing a painful story with me and it triggers me, and
right.
I have some unconscious response to your sharing, that could become very dangerous for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my program, my training, it has required me to complete 300 hours of therapy over 5 years. So
Wow.
I have been doing 200 hours a year of personal therapy and 40 hours a year of group therapy. And group therapy is amazing
Yeah.
because it's kind of like you're sitting in a circle and you're all kind of talking, but in group therapy, you get to see the thought bubbles or the emotion bubbles behind everybody. And it's so eye-opening to know that, Maria shares this, and then so and so has this response, and so has this response, and so has this response, and to go, wow, like
Yeah.
you really learn about your impact on others, and you really learn about how you respond to different kinds of material that are being brought into the room. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the way, as a psychodynamic psychotherapist, that we really learn, that we really receive training in using ourselves safely and effectively.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's a lot of work. I think any healing modality, and even therapists have to go through that training, and you go through a healing
Yeah,
before you actually can actually apply all those lessons, right? Oh wow,
absolutely.
that's a
Yeah,
lot of
and it's
in-depth
also
work.
true for Reiki, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
level
exactly.
one, the first thing that you learn is how to give yourself Reiki,
Yeah.
and I'm now understanding that differently through my therapeutic training, as when we give ourselves Reiki, first of all, we're slowing down, right? Because
Mm,
we are such a culture of action. We are such human doings. We
mm-hmm.
focus on that. We emphasize that. We're always like, how are you doing, Maria? What are you up to? Oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. And it's like this kind of point of pride in our culture to be busy,
Right.
busy, busy, busy. What we don't, what we often miss valuing, and hopefully we're learning to value it more, is this piece about being human beings,
Yeah.
right? To just be able to sit and to be able to spend, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes just holding yourself and just noticing, being mindful. What's
Right.
happening in my heart today? Is
Yeah.
she feeling anger? Is she feeling sadness? Like, what is happening there? Right? And just really calming and soothing the nervous system. So that's what we learned. That's our first lesson in Reiki, is to heal ourselves, right?
Right, because you're doing that deep listening, right? And that's the whole point, is listening. There's so much power in listening, because once you learn how to listen and hear your own voice, then you're able to listen to other people's voices when you're working with them, right? Like their energy and
Exactly.
whatever they like has to tell you, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And that allows us to be compassionate and empathetic with our clients, which is really the secret sauce,
It is.
right? To
Very
have
much so.
someone to sit with you in the darkness and hold you with empathy, that's the magic medicine.
It is definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's been a couple of times lately, or a while back. I think I already told this story, but I had a friend. Something happened to me, and I had a friend say, "I'm so sorry that happened to you," and just her acknowledging that it was a I want to say shitty thing that happened. Right? I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." I almost felt like she sees me, she hears me. I'm allowed to not feel good about this, which until then I was trying to like, make excuses or not feel it or like, you know, try not to shift blame. But it's like, no, it was, yeah, yeah. Okay, I get it. Thank you for just seeing that. I needed like your teacher saw your anger and you were like, you identified it. You saw it. You were seen, right? Yeah,
Yeah, and so, that Reiki master, she named the anger, and she didn't try to change it in any way.
yeah,
She just allowed it. She just identified there is anger,
yeah.
right? She didn't try to say you shouldn't be angry, right? It's not nice to be angry. No, she's just like, wow, there is anger. And
Yeah.
that on its own is so helpful, just to acknowledge without judgment, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I find that Reiki is that kind of modality that there is no judgment or criticism. Everything you accept things as they are, and you attune to different vibrations, but not judging what you're shifting from. Just accepting that that's where you are, and you're just moving forward. So yeah,
Yes, ideally, yes.
yeah,
And that's what we really work on helping our students to learn, right?
yeah, definitely. So, did you want to add anything more to that first question, or would you like to move on to the next? Are you ready to move on?
I guess I would just say that, how did so we talked about what drew me to
Yeah,
Reiki, and then how and why did I start to study psychotherapy?
yeah,
Um, that that was a number of factors. So, whereas Reiki, I was drawn to for my own health and healing and recovery, psychotherapy. For one, as a teacher, I mean, I taught international students for many years, and it is not easy being an international student for so many reasons.
mm-hmm.
Tuition is so high, they're far from their family, they're homesick, they're, adjusting to another culture. They can be in some really precarious situations because of finances and other things. So there's so many aspects of being an international student that are really hard. And what I found over my, the 3 decades that I was teaching English as a second language, I felt like less and less I was teaching how to write essays and how to do research and things, and more I was supporting my students' mental health.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that was happening. In addition, a number of my loved ones were struggling with mental health, with a
Yeah.
variety of things, anxiety, depression, substance use abuse, like different kinds of addictions. I mean, let's be honest, like there is an epidemic of addictions, right? Everything from shopping addiction, internet addiction, pornography, like just all kinds of addictions that we're just flooded with. So I was seeing just so much suffering all around me, and then I was suffering, witnessing all of this, and of course wanting to help, but also not knowing how most effectively to help, especially when, some people are making it clear, like, don't help me, don't interfere, or don't advise me, don't tell me what to do, right? So I was learning a lot about that. So those are a couple of things that really attracted me to learn more. Well, Reiki, we learn how to do Reiki. And it does support people's mental health. But when we study Reiki, we don't study mental health in depth, right? We're not therapists. Reiki masters
No,
are not
no.
therapists. We're there, with our hands on somebody's body. We can be empathetic human beings, but we're not therapists,
Right. Yeah.
right? So, and and that was the other thing that really interested me, was so often on the Reiki table, my clients would be crying, and
Yeah.
all kinds of emotions would come up, and I wanted to know how to safely and effectively support them.
Right. That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it is Reiki is just a pillar of kind of that body, mind, spirit, right? Like kind of everybody needs those three areas, right? You need to kind of conquer the stories in your head, your body, right, with your emotions, and then your spirit too. You got to feed and connect to yourself, and to kind of connect to the other, or the ether, right? So no,
Mm-hmm.
and that I totally agree. Yeah, and that's why I went into coaching as well, not psychotherapy, but I felt that Reiki is a wonderful tool, because it is a wonderful tool, but it's missing that kind of support system where you can like have that talk and understanding, and that support and that sharing, right?
Right.
So
Some tools,
yeah,
right? To
yeah,
take it an extra step, right? So Reiki kind of does the somatic piece really, really well.
yes,
And then some of these other approaches, whether it's coaching or therapy, they kind of help with the mind, and they help to, my therapeutic approach is, of course, very integrated. And
yeah.
I find that a lot of therapies are becoming more and more somatic, especially.
No, wait, there we go.
Oh, is it lagging right now?
Yeah, just a little bit, but no worries, no worries. But yeah, you were saying that you're finding that your practice is very, you're finding that psychotherapy practices are becoming very somatic. That's kind of the end of what I.
Yeah, so 20th century psychotherapy was quite cognitive, right? When we had really
Yeah,
popular things like cognitive behavioral therapy,
right,
right? Which was not really talking so much about the body
right,
and the emotions, but more about the mind.
yeah,
But now, especially in the last 20 years or so, trauma is a pretty hot topic in the world of psychology. And the evidence is clear that recovering from trauma, the most helpful things are somatic approaches. So Reiki, yoga, breath work, modalities like EMDR and OEI, like working with the eyes and the different sides of the brain. So all of those things are really, really helpful.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And what's become really popular too is that eye spacing too, like that temperature change, right? It's very Wim Hoffman. I don't know if you've heard about
Oh,
him.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Reset the nervous system. Again,
right. Yeah.
another somatic approach,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've done breath work, and I love it. It really is a way to reset your body, and even just trauma that you don't even know you're carrying, to kind of let it just leave your body, and it's life changing. So if you ever wanted to try breath work, I
I
would
love
recommend it.
breath work. Yeah,
100%.
I've had powerful releases with breath work.
Oh,
It's
so
great
good.
to do all of these things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Try anything once, right? I do. I think as a healer too, or more of a spiritual healer, I like to try different modalities too. Like, and I always have a list of things that I want to try and do and get to, right? It's like, okay, I've done this, I want to try this. Right? So yeah, I always love it. Yeah.
I love your heart of a learner, right?
Yeah.
I really.
And I think that's what it is. It's being in that curious mindset
Mhm.
where it's like, well, I don't know where this is going to go, but looks like fun, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. It's
awesome.
fantastic.
All right, Kimeiko. Is that alright if we move to the next question?
Absolutely.
Beautiful answer. Because I love it. I felt bad because I'm like, I can keep asking you more questions about this because it's so interesting. But let's just move on to the next question, which is, have you discovered your life purpose? And if so, how did that occur?
Mm. This is a beautiful question, Maria. I think that the common thread that has woven through all of the jobs that I've done, and I guess I would say that the primary jobs or roles that I've had are, you know, teacher, mother, very significant, very important, community volunteer. I've done a lot of different things in the community, Reiki Master and now therapist. What threads all of those together is a desire to be of service, a desire to make a difference, and a desire to do meaningful work. So something that feels meaningful and rewarding, not only to myself, but for others, right? That brings benefit. And so I don't think it's one thing. I think it's anything that kind of matches that vibration is suitable and appropriate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I really liked when I interviewed Alex, I really liked her answer because I've never heard it quite that way, in the sense of her purpose is whatever she desires next, right? Like there isn't, we always put so much emphasis on, oh, my life purpose and this thing that it's beyond my touch, or I have to find it. But your purpose is breathing, it's living, it's being of service, it's being in this life and being present. Really, like that's all we're here for. And everything else is kind of bonus. So I love that. I love that because there, and you see it in your life. You see the thread when you end up doing kind of the one thing that kind of sticks, but you kind of see a thread that everything that you've kind of gone through prepared you for kind of that, either the final step or the thing that you're doing now, right? I'm not saying that this is going to be like a forever thing, but yeah, I totally see it. I love it. It's beautiful. I see that ribbon between. And it ultimately comes to, we like to be of service, right? We are loving, caring, empathetic people, and we want to share our gift with others. So I want to share the comment from Nikki that she said, Kimeiko, you are such a treasure for the world and beyond. So I just wanted to share that because I'm like, that's the perfect comment. I wanted to make sure that you saw it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, and it is so lovely. I just looked at the comments and I see some very cherished people in the community. I'm really touched that you're here. Thank you so much for joining. I'm not going to call out all of your names, but thank you so much. It really means a lot to me that you're here. Thank you.
Yeah. And I find too that we might not have a lot of people on when we're doing it, but I find we get a lot of views after. Right, so I think there's a lot of people who have come to me after, like, I loved last week's series, and I'm like, oh, great, I'm glad, right? So it's awesome. It's awesome. So the next question is, what are some of the challenges you faced during your healing journey?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So I have spent my whole life in school. From the age of 5, so we're talking now like over 50 years. Yeah. I have been in school as a teacher and or student. And in school, things are very clear, right? You do the work to the best of your ability, you get the reward. You do research, you consult experts, you read books, you watch movies or videos, and you acquire the knowledge, you acquire the skills, you get the reward.
Yeah.
So when it came to suffering, I naturally applied what I had learned as a student and a teacher my whole life, and I did research and I consulted, I read widely, I looked for the answer everywhere but within myself.
Yeah.
And to give you a really good example, for example, parenting. Okay, so when my children had a struggle of any kind, I would look to a teacher or a doctor or a psychologist or, you know, whoever was out there, I was looking to them for answers. I wanted them to help. I wanted them to fix it. I wanted them to solve it.
Yeah.
But the reality, Maria, and what I learned over time is that nobody knew my child, that child, or my family, our family dynamics, or, you know, nobody knew and nobody was invested in as much as me.
Yeah.
Nobody else was waking up in the middle of the night worrying about this child or this situation, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately, what I learned was how much I can make a difference in the lives of myself and others when I am grounded and centered and go within. The answers are here.
Right. Yeah. It's that inner wisdom, right? That kind of that inner counsel that leads you to the answers you're seeking, right?
Yes. And I can't, you can't, nobody can tap into those answers if we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off, which I did for most of my adult life.
Yeah.
Right? So that's another piece of, I really needed to learn self-care so that I could connect with my own wisdom and be resourced enough to support myself and my loved ones and people around me.
Yeah. And this where the inner listening happens, right? Like this is where the inner listening to your inner voice really matters. Yeah. Definitely.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. That's yeah, it's amazing how we're taught to do one way, but really sometimes the only answer that you're seeking was right inside of you the whole time.
Well, you know, and I do actually want to talk about this just a little bit more because, again, we are so taught to act, right? This culture is so busy, busy, busy. And so, you know, whether it's a parenting issue or it's a student academic issue, but we're always taught to like do something.
Yeah.
Don't just sit there, do something, right? And what I've been learning is in fact the opposite. Don't just do something, right? Like sit there, right? So if someone that you love is struggling, it's not the time to like roll up your sleeves and okay, let's do this and this and this and this and overwhelm them with like stuff, right? Activities. No, it's the time to like sit there in stillness with whatever suffering is happening.
Yeah.
Right? And to be able to communicate with, you know, your regulated nervous system to their nervous system, like we can just sit here. We can just sit here through this grief or anger or sadness or whatever it is, and you're going to get through this.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, you know, and you know, this is documented. If we can sit and tolerate our emotions for long enough, they change. And I'm not sure what the number is. It's like 1 or 2 or 3 minutes. But those really uncomfortable feelings that would usually make people, I don't know, jump up and eat a tub of ice cream or down a bottle of wine or, you know, or reach for their phone and play some games or whatever. If instead, we could sit there and hold this discomfort for long enough, it will pass.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Yeah. No, yeah. It's like what we talked about right at the beginning. It's about just seeing your emotion, acknowledging and saying, yeah. There's a phrase that that my dad said to me. It's funny. 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, it was like, emotions aren't going to kill you, right? Like it's like I was like, I knew that, but just coming out of him, I was ready to hear it, kind of
Right.
all, yeah. Me feeling comfortable or feeling fear or feeling anger, it's not going to kill me unless I take actions that, have really big consequences, right? But otherwise, right? Like the emotion sitting in there in it is not going to kill you. So I'm like,
Exactly.
okay, it's not going to kill me, so I can see it, I can process it, right? So, yeah. So,
Maria, I'm sorry, I have real life here.
yeah.
My dog feels the need to protect me. I'm just going to open the door for him. I'm so sorry.
No problem. No problem. There we go.
Little boy.
Yeah. He's been very quiet this whole interview.
He has.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a cutie. He's a cutie. All right, which kind of leads to kind of the next question, which I think is similar, but it has a little bit of different wisdom, I think. The next question is, what is the one lesson you have learned and share with your people or clients all the time, right? Kind of a thing that, like I just shared with you, like I heard that fear, like, emotions will kill you kind of thing, right? And just.
Yeah, I love that. I think that one of the really impactful lessons that I have learned is surrender.
Yeah.
Right? That, that this goes back to the busyness, this goes back to the action. And surrender is especially challenging when it involves when you are watching other people suffering, when you are seeing your loved ones suffering, the desire, the inclination. So my metaphor, Maria, and actually this came up in a Reiki session with one of our community Reiki Masters, Alex.
Wonderful.
When I was really struggling at one point, she was lovely. She came to my house and did an emergency Reiki house call.
Mm-hmm.
And during that session, I had this kind of a dream of where I saw myself on a river in this kind of little boat. It was like a leaf boat, and it was all kind of enclosed and very protective. And this leaf boat, it was kind of like at the skeleton, in the Olympics, where you're just kind of lying there, like all I could do was lie there. There was no oars, or I was on my back flat out, and all I could do was float. And this little boat, it kind of wrapped around the sides of me, and it was navigating some rough waters, but it just protected me, and there was really nothing that I could do. All I could just do is kind of float. And in this vision, I sort of floated down to a place where there were some healers, and they approached me, and they all gave me some different kinds of gifts that were nourishing and fortifying. And then they sent me on my way again. And interestingly, I was on my way to this city downriver, and it was the city of healers.
Wow.
And the only way that anyone can get to the city of healers is alone. Nobody can take you there. You can only arrive solo, and you can only arrive through surrender.
Wow.
So for me, it was allowing myself to relax and just float down the river until I arrived. And I kind of knew that, my journey was being witnessed, it was being cheered on, it was being supported, but also nobody, other than this little respite that I had where these healers approached and, halfway through the journey, but the ones who were waiting for me, they knew that this was my journey, that I had to do it. I had to get there on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah. No, I think the power
It sounds like that's maybe
huge.
resonated for you,
Yeah,
Maria.
definitely. Like it's like I can can just imagine somebody rowing up river and then just letting go of the oars and being like, oh, like I surrender. Surrender is such a beautiful thing. We don't give it enough time or power sometimes. But yeah, surrender is one of those things that helps you turn that boat around, helps you just kind of go with the current and get you to where you need to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess the other things that I learned during that really challenging time, there was really nothing I could do but pray.
Yeah.
Right? And just, saying like, this is too much. And actually, I did pray and I did say, this is too much for me right now. And when I said that, it was pretty magical what happened the next day, because the day after I prayed and said, this is just way too much for me, the next day, a relative was in town, a relative that I hardly ever see, and she wanted to meet me. And I was very busy. And ordinarily, like if she lived down in town, I probably would have said, oh, I'm sorry, I'll like next week or 3 weeks from now is better. But because she was just in town for a short time and I really wanted to see her as well, I said yes. And we went out, we had a wonderful day, and I relaxed. I was able to disconnect from the things that I was feeling that were stressing me out. And then that evening, we happened to have theater tickets, so we went to the theater, and really the next 24 hours were nothing to do with the suffering and everything to do with connecting, enjoying, relaxing, and recovering.
Right.
And so 48 hours later, I felt completely different, right?
Yeah.
And that was one of the number of lessons. So this is the other thing that I really emphasize is self-care, right? It's something that I always check in with my psychotherapy clients, especially like, how is your self-care? What are you doing for self-care, right?
Yeah.
To be proactive. And that self-care does not have to be going to, Portugal for a week, although that's wonderful, right? And I would never tell anybody not to do that. That's a great idea. But self-care can be this, Maria. It can be, wow, this Bengali spice tea smells so good. I love the warmth in my hands. I love my purple mug. And I love that I'm taking 5 minutes for myself, and I'm going to light a candle too. And I'm just going to feel really juicy and nourished for just a few minutes. Right?
Yeah. And I see so many people interpret as self-care as pampering yourself. Yeah, you can pamper yourself, but it's about taking that moment to give yourself a gift of love and being in the present and quieting your mind down, surrendering, laughing, having a fun time, like just kind of unplugging from the busyness of life, right?
Yeah, buying yourself flowers.
Right, it can look like many, many different things, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. That is very important. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. With my clients, sometimes I do like, well, what are you doing for self-care? Like, we usually tell, are you meditating? But sometimes self-care is just having those 5 minutes to yourself, taking a nice bath, or listening to soft music, reading a nice book, right? Like all those things. You just kind of do the things you love just for you because you like them. That's a simple kind of definition.
Every day, every single day, right?
Yeah. So which brings us to the next question, which is, what does healing mean to you?
I think that in my experience, healing is getting to one's authentic self. So a decade ago, before I was sort of broken open and learned to recognize these are my emotions. I can name them. This is how my body's feeling. I can feel it. And then starting to use that wisdom and all of these practices that we've talked about, those, all of those things bring me closer and closer to, you know, my authentic and actualized self. I'm
Yeah.
not hiding anger anymore. I'm saying, welcome, anger.
Hmm.
Thank you for letting me know a boundary's being crossed. Like, welcome, sadness. You're a part of life too, right? Like,
Yeah.
welcome to all of these parts of myself, right? So I'm not, I think healing is to like not be scared of your shadow, but just to
Right.
say, yeah, you're my shadow. Everywhere I go, there's my shadow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think also too, the more I work with the shadow, I realize that it's there to protect us sometimes, right? To like emotion is telling us that there's something we need to heal or a boundary that's being crossed, right? When your trigger or your shadow comes out, right? And just to love that
Mhm.
part of yourself, because we're
Yeah.
all multifaceted beings, right?
And
And
wholeness, right? So authenticity means being imperfect.
yeah,
And that was that's been another journey for me, the journey of imperfection, the journey of embracing being good enough,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And the more comfortable I become with being good enough myself, the easier it is as well for me to extend grace to others who
mm-hmm.
are the others in my life who are also imperfect and doing their best. Like, we're all just doing our best and none of us is perfect and it's all good enough.
Yeah.
We're all learning.
And we have to remember it's a journey, right? Sometimes you're going to be up here and sometimes you're going to be down here. And it's not linear. Like we're all just like on a plateau. We're healing in
Yeah.
life is like this, right?
Yeah,
So, and sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down. I think what really counts is that when we are in those places that we don't feel like ourselves or we can't totally be authentic, that we have tools of self-care or we have people that can help us kind of navigate those or learn the lessons that we need to so then we can just kind of pop back up, right? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So the next question is, what do you love most about your gifts and healing products?
Hmm. Yeah, so I guess I'm really grateful for, you know, the gifts that I received. I feel grateful to be a communicator,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be able to write and to be able to connect with others with words and actions. So that is I'm very grateful for that gift. Curiosity, you know, and this kind of goes back to your last question. You know, the ability to experience a difficulty and get curious about it. Like, what am I supposed to learn from this? Like,
Right.
and
Yeah.
also to expect that there is a learning every time.
Yeah.
And that's true. I've never been disappointed. Like, hard as any of these life wallops has been, they've all been, I've learned from all of them,
Yeah.
right? Um, yeah. Uh, so yeah, so curiosity, communication, um, and I guess what I love about the skills that I've been practicing in Reiki and psychotherapy, both of them, is it's really about the humanity and being very humble in both of them, like being an instrument. So with Reiki, like I'm not doing something. I'm just the conduit. I'm the witness. I'm like an ally. I'm a supportive other, a regulating presence. Same with psychotherapy. Like I'm listening. I'm not there to
Mhm.
tell you what to do. I'm not there to do something. I'm there just to be with you. And uh, both of these modalities, I'm so grateful because I think that they make me um, a better person, a better friend, a better family member, a better companion, right? And not just to others, but also to myself.
Right.
Right.
No, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because you're with you 24/7, right? So you have to like
Wherever
you.
we go, there we are.
You have to learn to love you, for sure. Which actually, the next question kind of correlates to what you just mentioned, but I don't know if you want to mention something specific, which is how do your gifts and talents make you unique, right? Because you have some really interesting combination of the two different, like the modality of Reiki and the psychotherapy, right?
Yeah, I guess in terms of being unique, I would say that I believe that I have a real entrepreneurial leaning, which has always come out in different ways, but it's about like seeing a need and wanting to figure out how that need can be satisfied.
Wonderful.
Right? So this is like a little bit of a different tangent, but so for an example, with Reiki,
Mm-hmm.
there are a number, it's not hard to become a Reiki practitioner, to become a Reiki teacher. And so there are quite a lot of them out there, but not every Reiki teacher supports their students once they've certified them,
Right.
as
Yeah.
an example.
Yeah.
And that's in terms of learning how to be a teacher,
Yeah.
but it's also, as a Reiki Master practitioner, it's like learning how to develop your own business. How do you get clients? Where do you see clients? How do you maintain your schedule? What about billings? What about HST? All of this stuff to figure out.
Yeah.
So I saw these gaps, these needs,
Mm-hmm.
and and responded to them, right? Talking to my other Reiki Master colleagues, particularly Alex, and she agreed, yeah, these are gaps. And so because of this kind of entrepreneurial inclination, together we founded GTA Reiki, which is designed to be a collaborative, supportive community to support fledgling Reiki teachers, and also all of our students. And now, with the new course that we've developed and that we launched this spring, with the Grow Your Reiki Business course and membership community, to kind of give that ongoing support to that kind of, to meet that need as well.
Yeah. No, and it's wonderful because I had to kind of figure out most of the stuff on my own. And even with the course that you offer online, I find that there were gaps that I was missing, right? So it just helped me kind of move my business to the next level, which I completely
And
recommend.
it has been breathtaking watching, witnessing how quickly you have just, gone leaping and soaring, Maria. You have really embraced all of the resources and supports,
Yeah.
right, of this community.
No, definitely. I find this community outstanding and wonderful, and there's some exciting things coming in the future. And I just find that I really get along with the other Reiki masters, and just the community is fantastic. Like I always feel welcome. Everybody's welcomed. Everybody's loved and accepted who they are, and everybody's looked as a unique individual, and their voice counts. And sometimes that's rare to find.
It's genuinely supportive, and it's not competitive. Right? I think we all know there's more than enough to go around.
There is, yeah.
Right? And definitely. I love this, right? Like having retired from a workplace that I was in for over 20 years, and they're like family, and then stepping into 100% self-employment, private practice, and yet you know, on any given day, any week, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to Nancy, I'm talking to Alex, I'm talking to like Lana, Layla, like Kelly, like we're all supporting each other all the time, tackling problems together, solving issues, and I guess that's the other strong bent that I have is this community orientation, this collaborative leaning, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Which actually leads me to the next question, because the next question is, what projects are you working on right now?
Uh-huh,
I know there's a
yeah,
few
yeah.
things coming down the pipe.
Great. Okay, so I guess the main project for me right now is, as I mentioned earlier, I will be graduating from my psychotherapy program at the end of June. So at the moment, I'm pretty focused on growing my private practice as a therapist. I did my graduate thesis in support for caregivers of loved ones with mental health challenges.
Wow. Wow.
And yeah, so that's something that's very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
And, you know, because of my own personal experiences, I really get how hard it is to keep one's own head above water. And so that's a demographic that I'd really, really love to be serving. So focusing on that. The other main projects are with GTA Reiki. I am getting increasingly involved with mentorship and kind of curriculum development. So mentoring, you know, as we were discussing, new Reiki practitioners and helping them build their businesses, but also mentoring new teachers and helping them become comfortable, confident, effective teachers as well. We do a lot of co-teaching in our community, which is another thing that I love about us. So working on that. And then what is the other piece that I was thinking about? Oh yeah, and with the growing a business, of course, we are offering weekly productivity sessions, which I often see you at, and I enjoy when we check in. And when we don't check in, when we have a long weekend like we just do, I feel a little bereft all week. Like, what am I supposed to do this week, right?
Yeah.
So doing the weekly, we want to be planning. We have a bunch of ideas for quarterly development sessions. So that will be coming up. Planning the next quarterly meeting. We do have an intention of hosting an annual conference, which I think is super exciting because we don't have an annual Reiki conference in the GTA yet. And I believe that there's a tremendous need, that there's great interest. And it went very well, the first conference that we hosted this year. I believe that it's going to grow exponentially. So that's really exciting to look forward to. And what else? Oh, and of course, the crystals and pendulums courses that we're developing right now. And I love the way that we're doing that. The way, you know, we met earlier this week, a number of the GTA Reiki Master teachers, and we had prepared in advance. We allotted an hour, and did we ever bring it? Right? We were so productive in 1 hour, like every one of us just bringing the best of everything that we knew and had learned about this content. And we left, you know, I would say by 2 hours, because some of us stayed a little bit longer, but after 2 hours, it was very clear. This is what's going to be, this is how long it is, this is what's going to be offered, this is what the students will be getting, this is the cost, this is the venue. Like, we figured it out. We are a really dream team. I was very
awesome.
It just felt so
part of it.
exciting, right? Yeah, and I think our students are going to love these new courses.
I think so too. Think so too. Do you want to announce the date of what? Because we have one coming in a couple of weeks.
Yes. So Pendulums is our first class, and that's coming up on June 11th, and I'm hosting it at my place in Thornhill. And I think that the garden will be peaking at that time. So that's going to be a real treat. I'm anticipating teaching outdoors, and I'm co-teaching with you and Nancy and Alex that day. And then we have yet to sort out all the details for August, but I know that I'm going to be co-teaching with Layla at her studio in Vaughan, and the Layla Moon Studio, and I believe that's August 20th. And I'm thinking, Layla, and I haven't confirmed this, but that may be the first time we run the crystals course, because that would make sense, right? So yeah, so those are coming up soon.
So keep an eye out for them, for the announcements coming soon. And just, I did want to mention this, that the pendulum and maybe the crystal one course as well is for Reiki 2, level 2, Reiki level 2. Right?
That's right. Yes, so they're so in each of the classes, our students will actually be practicing giving and receiving Reiki, using a pendulum in the one course and with crystals in the other.
Yeah, definitely. Wonderful. Keep an eye out for that. So I think you did talk a little bit about this, but I kind of want to clarify is what services are you providing now and why? Well, we know why you're providing them, but what is available for people to kind of reach out to you and ask to book?
Yeah. So I offer psychotherapy. And if people, I have really good rates right now, because as a student, my school will not let me charge more than $85 a session, which if you do some market research, that's a bargain. Yeah. So I'm offering psychotherapy, reduced rate psychotherapy until the end of June. July 1st, my rates go up because I will have graduated, but they'll still be pretty low until I write my psychotherapy exam in the fall and become a full registered psychotherapist, hopefully by the end of this year or maybe the beginning of next year. So psychotherapy, I would say right now, is the number one thing that I'm doing, and it's 100% online, and I see clients all over. So anywhere in Ontario, I have a client today from Newfoundland. There are a number of provinces, I think BC, Saskatchewan, Quebec. There's a number of provinces that I am able to offer psychotherapy to, only in Canada. So there's that. Reiki sessions I offer in person as well as online, as well as every level of Reiki class. So I have, this weekend I'm teaching Reiki 1. A couple of weeks ago I taught Reiki 2. I'm teaching Reiki 3 coming up. So I teach all the way up to the Karuna Reiki level. In addition, as we mentioned, the Grow Your Reiki Business course and mentorship community, and the crystals and pendulums courses. So all of those courses. And people can go to the gtareiki.com website and look for the Find a Course page, and then you can see the calendar. And we're always adding new classes, right? So if anybody wants to learn Reiki, they don't have to learn it with me. They could learn it with Maria, but you're always going to find something. And if you don't see what you want, just write to us. And you know, we have, you know, we're in regular communication. So I will just say, hey, is anybody teaching Reiki Master Teacher soon? And we'll find a teacher for you, right? So there's that. And I think that's enough, Maria.
Yeah, I think you're like, wait, I'm like, that's a lot. Yeah, and I think that's the beauty about the GTA community, is that you can go to the calendar, and there is usually a Reiki level 1 or 2 kind of within the same month or month and a half, and there's always some class happening. So even if you don't have a problem traveling, you can go all the way east to Oshawa, to where I am, or go to Thornhill where you're at. So that's the beauty, is that you have kind of teachers kind of sprinkled across. Yeah. So so then, you know, if the student's there, the teacher will show up, right? Or if the student is ready, the teacher will show up. And that's how you showed up in my life, right? Because I was looking for Karuna. I remember, and I had been to GTA Reiki many times, and I was just like, I was like, no, it just seems very downtown, because it was GTA Reiki, and then Nancy walked into a store I was working in, and she's like, I'm taking Karuna Reiki. I'm like, where? Why? When? And within like 2 days, I was registered for a class. It was awesome. I love it. But I was ready. I was ready. You showed up when I was ready. So, so they can find all the GTA and course information under gtareiki.com.
Yes.
And I know that you gave me a couple of the links for people to contact you. So I know that if they're looking for Reiki, the email they should send it to is kimiko@pm.me. I will put it in the description box here.
That's actually my psychotherapy, email address. Yeah. So my Reiki website is kimiko.com.
Yeah.
And that's for sessions, primarily. For courses, go to gtareiki.com.
Okay.
For psychotherapy, there's 2 places people can look for me. I've got my booking site is kimiko.jnap.com. And they can also go to Psychology Today and just Google or, you know, in the directory, look for Kimeiko, and you'll find my Psychology Today page with my little video and all of the information about what I offer as a psychotherapist.
Yeah, so what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to put your emails and websites on the video and the information side for the video, but I'm actually going to go in and make a comment for the other links so they can just click on it and go to it.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
If I put it down in the comment, it doesn't take it as a link, so I'm going to try it that way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just saw Nancy's comment. That is, thank you, Nancy, for being here.
Yeah, I just saw that too.
Yes.
Love you too.
Wow, wow. And my neighbor is here. I'm just so, really, thank you all. I'm so touched that you're here. It really means a lot to me.
Wonderful. And that kind of concludes our Soul Journey live series here, like the interview today. So would you like to add anything? Would you like to finish with anything? Would you like to leave the people watching with a message? It's up to you.
Yeah, I guess really just gratitude. I'm just so touched to see, you know, when I scroll through, like, people that I have not seen in a long time or people that I saw just yesterday. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate your interest, your support. Thank you, Maria, for, you know, for taking the time, for inviting me, for being inspired and following your creative guidance. And I mean, this is just a really awesome series that you're running, and you're such a wonderful interviewer, you know, and you're very pro. So thank you so much for this.
Well, I've had some very amazing healers in my company, and I'm very blessed that I actually have these wonderful people in my life that I can connect to and reach out and get support, and also be part of their amazing community. I'm amazed every day that I can be part of GTA Reiki, and I'm honored to be one of the teachers there. So thank you.
I'm so honored as well to have you.
All right, then. We're going to say goodbye, and thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, and send everybody lots of love. Thank you so much, Kimeiko, again, for being here. Have a wonderful night. All right.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye.